Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and today we are going to talk about Week 0 for college football. That's right, college football Week 0 kicks off this Saturday, and we are going to run down the Week 0 schedule. Now, looking at the Week 0 schedule, here's the thing. You go on ESPN, and it doesn't say Week 0 anymore. It says Week 1. So it's like Week 0, it exists, but at the same time, it doesn't exist because it doesn't say Week 0. It's an extension of Week 1, which is crazy. I guess they don't want to call it Week 0 anymore. But anyways, we're going to talk about Week 0 in college football. We're also going to run down all of the news coming out of football today. And we got some breaking news coming out of, let's say, New Orleans. Where else? We got New Orleans, the Giants, and Cincinnati. Just give me 1 second here because I'm updating something that I should have updated before I hit go live, but I'm not. I didn't update it yet. And I want to update it really quick. Take me 2 seconds to do. So, yeah. I don't know why this isn't working. Why is this not working? This is why I always try to make sure I have everything ready before we hit the go live. But here we go. We got breaking news. We got breaking news coming out of Cincinnati, New York for the Giants, and New Orleans. So it is being reported that wide receiver Chris Olave of the New Orleans Saints suffered an injury today in training camp. It is yet to be known what fully occurred with Chris Olave, what type of injury, how long it's going to be, anything like that. But apparently he suffered an injury in training camp today. What I'm reading here is he had a hard landing, and it doesn't specifically say what the injury is, but there is no update on the injury. So as far as it stands right now, Chris Olave is unknown with his injury. For the New York Giants, Calvin Austin was carted off the field today in training camp, and he's dealing with an injury at the moment. We do not know the extension of his injury. So as soon as we get news and updates on these injuries, we will definitely report them here on the Huddle Hub Podcast. And last but not least, out of Cincinnati Bengals camp, wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase, he was taken off the field with a knee injury. Now, he did do an update on ESPN Cincinnati on 1530 ESPN Cincinnati saying that he's okay. He's good to go. It was a little hyperextension. He said that he could have kept going in camp. He could have kept practicing, but he was taken off the field. So it looks like he's good for the day. He's good to go. A little bit of a scare for Cincinnati with Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, here's the thing. Cincinnati, if you had to pick these out of these three teams, which one to really say is affected the most, it's Cincinnati. I understand the New York Giants, they're rebuilding right now. Harbaugh just comes in. They look good on paper. They look like they're going to be a team that's going to have a better season than they did in 2025. I don't think the New York Giants for 1 minute are going to compete for the NFC East. Going to put that out there right now. But could I see them being a 6-7 win team? Maybe. It all depends. It depends if Jackson Dart can stay on the field, because let's face it, week 1 of preseason, he was already in concussion protocol. It wasn't his fault, but he was already in concussion protocol. You got Cam Scadaboo, who, I mean, let's just put it this way. The guy does crazy crap. I mean, he's probably, he could be backflipping off of buildings right now for all we know. How can you trust your running back when he's doing stuff like that? Right? So Cincinnati, you think of it, this is effective because we know the Cincinnati defense for the past couple years has been the case of Cincinnati losing a lot of ball games. Their offense is electric with Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, Joe Burrow. That offensive line is phenomenal with protecting Joe Burrow. Yes, I know Joe Burrow has gotten injured and he's been out for a season, stuff like that. But sometimes you can't fully blame it on the offensive line for this occurring. Now, if there was missed blocks, missed assignments, anything like that, then it's like, okay, it was this guy's fault. But it's all about, hey, Joe Burrow gets hit, he lands bad, it's a tough go. This for Ja'Marr Chase, this Ja'Marr Chase scare is more, I can't find the right word, effective, more concerning, because there are a lot of high expectations in Cincinnati this year. And the reason why is because they go out and they trade away their 10th overall pick for Dexter Lawrence. So they took themselves out of the first round of the draft this year to go for a guaranteed defensive player, not somebody that they have to train and groom into the position or anything like that. They have a guy that is set, ready to go, day one, insert, plug, play, and here we go, we're off and running. But you look at the offense, and it's like, man, this offense is arguably a top 10 offense, possibly a top 5 offense. So if T. Higgins goes down, who we know is Joe Burrow's number one guy to throw to, yeah, he can go to T. Higgins. We know that. But it would still hit Cincinnati hard on the offensive side of the ball if Ja'Marr Chase was missing. So, but it's good to hear that Ja'Marr Chase is good to go. Everything's good. Hopefully we can get an update on Chris Olave, Calvin Austin. We do have another injury update as well. Darnell Wright came out of red zone drills after 2 plays and was replaced by Theo Benedict at right tackle. This looks like I want to make sure I'm reporting this right. It's like when you're doing things to make sure you're doing your breaking news stuff here. So Darnell Wright, the Chicago Bears. Okay, so the Chicago Bears, Darnell Wright and the Chicago Bears. Oh my gosh. So Darnell Wright, offensive tackle of the Chicago Bears, he was taken out. Theo Benedict came in and replaced him. It's a right elbow injury. So another hard hit for an offensive line. And that's the Chicago Bears. That's rough. That's rough. Especially for a team who last year went 11-6, won their division, went to the playoffs, had a great showing in the playoffs. Chicago has those high expectations as well. You look at the NFC North right now, and every team had a winning season last year. Okay, every team had a winning season last year. The Packers 9-7-1, the Lions and Vikings went 9-8. And the Bears went 11-6, 12-5. They all won. The Bears and the Packers were the 2 teams that made the playoffs. Now, some would argue the Packers probably shouldn't have been in because of that tie, but you treat a tie like a win. But one of the beneficial things for the Chicago Bears was their offensive line. Keeping Caleb Williams protected, opening up the field for him, making sure he has extra time to make decisions. And if one of his offensive linemen in Darnell Wright, who's supposed to be a key component to that offensive line, goes down, yeah, you bring in the next man up. But you don't want to have to worry about next man up mentality at this moment. Not now. Not in week 3 of training camp. But that seems to be the case right now. Now, as far as Darnell Wright, we'll obviously, with all these injuries, we'll try and keep updated, and we'll try and get some answers on what's going on with these injuries, and we will report them here. If anything, we will have the full updates on the Sunday edition, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this Sunday here on the Huddle Hub podcast. I'll have that information ready for you guys to go. So, yeah, So let's get into the top 20, the top 100 of 2026. We are in the final 10 days of the top 100 players in the NFL. Now, number 10 was announced yesterday. Number 9 was announced today. And I'm going to say this. The top 10 is starting to kind of shape out pretty decent so far with the 2 players that were announced. Okay? And I'm actually excited for tomorrow when we get number 8. Because how the NFL is doing this is with the top 10 from August 24th, yesterday, until September 4th, next week. They are announcing the top 10 for the next 10 days. They announced 1 player. Now, how they've been doing it for the past couple weeks was they announced 2 players a day per week. So we just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've had about 7 weeks of players getting announced because number 100 to number 71 got announced the first week. I mean, they fired off players like crazy in the first week. And then once they got to number 70, they started announcing 2 players a day. And some of the players that are up in the 50s, 60s, 70s should probably be in a better position. Some of these players, I was surprised that they're in the position they're in. But the one thing we got to remember is not every player is going to be on this list. It's a top 100 list. Because you have a 53-man roster with 32 teams. That's 696 players. So 1,596 players are not on this list. So I guess it's more so of like, hey, you got to think of it of at least they're on the list because they don't have to be. And when you look at the team counts, the Eagles have 5 players, the Cowboys have 3 players, the Commanders and Giants both have 1 player. Okay, that's the NFC East. In the NFC West, the 49ers have 4, the Rams and Cardinals have 3, the Seahawks have 2. In the NFC North, as of today, the Lions have 6 now because Jahmyr Gibbs was announced as number 9 on the list today. The Packers and Bears both have 3, and the Vikings have 1 player, and that's Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson was announced last week, so he's in the list from 2020 through 11. Okay? When you look at the NFC South, Panthers at 5, Saints and Bucks at 2, Falcons at 1. Okay, Justin Jefferson, by the way, he was number 19. Okay, in the AFC, AFC East, the Patriots have 4, Bills, Dolphins both have 2, Jets have 1. In the AFC West, the Broncos have 6, Chiefs have 4, Chargers 3, and Raiders 2. Last week, Broncos had 5, and then Bo Nix made the list. Ravens, AFC North, Ravens 5, Steelers, Bengals, and Browns all have 2. And then in the AFC South, Texans 5, Jaguars 3, Colts 2, and Titans 1. Now, it took until the top 20 for both the Vikings and the Giants to get a player on this list. Again, Justin Jefferson was announced at number 19. For the Giants, Brian Burns was announced at number 14, which I had a feeling, me and John talked about this. Brian Burns was going to end up on this list. It was just where. He was going to be the one of the Giants players that made this list. You're not seeing Cam Scatterbo out for the year last year. You're not going to see a Jackson Dart concussion protocol out the wazoo last year. Malik Neighbors gone for the year. What players for the New York Giants was left? Who? You can't say Wan'Dale Robinson because Wan'Dale Robinson isn't there anymore. He would be, if he was to be on this list, which I believe he is. I mean, I could double check and see if he actually is on this list. But Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't play for the Giants anymore. So he would fall into the category of the team that he went to. And I'm not seeing Wan'Dale Robinson's name anywhere, by the way. I don't think he didn't make the list. He didn't. He didn't make the list. Yeah, because the Titans only have 2 players. And their 2 players, actually, no, they only have 1, and that's Jeffrey Simmons. Their defensive tackle. And Jeffrey Simmons got that nice contract earlier this offseason. So, but, yeah, so the Giants with Brian Burns being on this list makes sense. Being in the top 20 makes sense. But the 2 players that were announced this week, Patrick Surtain of the Denver Broncos at number 10, Jahmyr Gibbs at number 9. We'll get number 8 tomorrow. We'll get number 7 on Thursday, 6 on Friday. And then we'll get number 5 next Monday, I believe. Yes, number 5 next Monday. Number 4 on Tuesday. Number 3 on Wednesday. Number 2 on Thursday. And number 1 next Friday. That'll be the 10 days from this Monday up until next Friday for the top 10 to pan out in the top 100 of the NFL. So, that's that for the top 100. All right, guys. So we're going to talk about the college football week 0 coming up starting this weekend. We're going to talk about that schedule coming up, but we're going to talk about all the news coming out of the world of football. Let's start off with the news coming out of the world of football. It was announced the other day that College Game Day has announced their first 3 locations for their show. Week 1, they'll be at LSU. Week 2, they'll be in Texas. And week 3, they will be at Ole Miss. So if you are attending any of those games, any of those home games in week 1, 2, or 3, and you want to attend College Game Day, where we know Pat McAfee's a part of that show, everything like that, you can go attend College Game Day because that's where they'll be in the first 3 weeks, LSU, Texas, and Ole Miss. Okay. Running back of the Las Vegas Raiders, Ashton Jeanty, he suffered an ankle injury at camp. The Raiders are unsure of how much time he will miss, but this injury came out on Sunday. We don't know when the initial injury happened, but we do know that this was announced on Sunday that this injury had occurred. So again, with these injuries, once we know more, we will definitely talk about them here on the Huddle Hub podcast. And once we have more of an update on these injuries. Daquan Wright, tight end of the Cleveland Browns, he was waived by the Browns. Okay. And you're probably thinking, Mike, why are you announcing this? He was a late round pick. You know, he's a guy that was probably going to be a practice squad guy or not make the team. Why are we announcing this? Why are we talking about this? Well, because this year, players that have 5th year of eligibility in college, if they get waived or cut by the NFL team they were drafted by or picked up on, they can go back to play their 5th year of eligibility in college, which means Daquan Wright is going back to LSU to play for LSU in 2026. So he's going back to college football. Now you're probably thinking, well, what does he do after that? The team owns the rights to his contract, which means next year he will be a Cleveland Brown. So he will be back in Browns camp next season. Now, Adam Schefter, I believe it was Adam Schefter. Yeah, Adam Schefter, he talked about this on his podcast, and he called this the Wild West of football. And I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. For players to be able to go back to college for a 5th year of eligibility because they didn't make an NFL team is unheard of. It's unknown. But the good thing is it gives players options to go and play football when they're not going to be a part of a roster. And if he doesn't feel confident enough to be on an NFL roster, whether it's a practice squad or be on a 53-man this year, and he wants to play football and he's able to go back to college and guaranteedly be on the field, why not? I like the idea. I like the idea of this occurring, and I do like the idea that these guys are going to get an opportunity to play football and probably up their game a little bit because, next year going back to the Cleveland camp, Daquan Wright could be looked at as a top tight end. You never know. That's the benefit of this happening. Just like a quarterback who got drafted in, let's say, the 7th round. Oh, you're going to be waived. Okay, I'm going to go back to college and play. I'm going to take my 5th-year option. Sweet. Good luck. We'll see you next season. Well, it could be beneficial. So you think it gives these guys more options, not only for that, but you got the UFL, which a lot of the guys in the NFL play in the UFL. Not a lot of no starters do. You're not going to see, Bryce Young out there throwing for any UFL team. Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff. You're not going to see any of those guys out there playing quarterback for any UFL team. But you're going to see guys that are on the bench, 2nd and 3rd, 4th stringers, practice squad guys to up their game, to stay fresh. And I like the idea of this. I like the idea of the fact these kids can go back and play college football if they have a 5th-year option. So good on him. Good luck to him. Hopefully things go good for him out in LSU this year. Defensive end of the Cleveland Browns, Alex Wright, he ruptured his Achilles. He's going to be out for the season. This is a rough hit for the Cleveland Browns. I've been saying that the Cleveland Browns, I think they're always defensively ready. You look at their roster, and they have some good depth on their roster on defense. They've always had a defense ready to go. It's just all about getting the offense going. Now, with Deshaun Watson, who was announced the starting quarterback this season the other day, a lot of people are not happy about this. But we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson in a second because I got something to say about that. But I could see Cleveland going and making a move for somebody like a Kayvon Thibodeau. Okay, the Giants, I know, are probably trying. I think they're trying to trade him, I believe. And I could see Kayvon Thibodeau fitting in the Cleveland system. And especially with the situation right now with Alex Wright being out. Yes, Cleveland is good at depth in position-wise on the defensive side of the ball. But bringing in a guy to kind of fill that slot of Alex Wright being out for the season in a Kayvon Thibodeau, I think would be good for the Browns to keep that depth alive instead of, hey, we have one guy who's going to be out for the year. That's a missing spot on the depth. Go out, trade for Kayvon Thibodeau. You're going to end up giving the Giants maybe roughly a 6th-round draft pick. If you're going to give them a 5th round, it's going to be in 2029, 2028. And I think it'll be beneficial for the Cleveland Browns. And that's a good landing spot for Kayvon Thibodeau. I think he would fit well in that Cleveland defense. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if Kayvon Thibodeau ends up in the Cleveland defense or not. I'm just kind of putting that out there. Free agent defensive end Derek Barnett, he signed with the Cleveland Browns, 1-year deal, $5.5 million. And that's what I mean, the depth. Now, Derek Barnett is a good addition, but again, I would stick to the script of saying Kayvon Thibodeau would fit in this Cleveland Browns defense. Can you imagine having Kayvon Thibodeau on one side, Derek Barnett on the other? I mean, again, yes, they have Jared Verse. Jared Verse plays outside, he plays inside. And then you have Mason Graham. The Browns can set themselves up to be the best defensive line in football. If they gather that talent, they can make themselves be one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive line in football. So even though they added Derek Barnett and his skills, still go out and make that Kayvon Thibodeau move. Deshaun Watson got announced as the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback. I'm going to say this right now. I think this is a window dress. And what I mean by a window dress is the Browns were told years ago by former head coach Kevin Stefanski that he didn't like this move. Okay? It was a bad move. Then they go on and they extend his contract, which made the move worse. Deshaun Watson hasn't played football in 2 years. Okay. And he comes back and he has a poor showing. Had a good showing in your first preseason game, but then last preseason game didn't look too good. But then he doubled down and told people not to boo him. Hold on. So you're telling the fan base, the Cleveland Brown fan base, who is one of the most hardcore fan bases in football, because Cleveland, let's face it, Cleveland is a hardcore football town. It sucks to see that they can't get this team to win championships. Could you imagine if the Cleveland Browns won a Super Bowl? I mean, that celebration would be on the same level as what Philadelphia did in 2018, beating the New England Patriots. That celebration in Cleveland would be a party that everybody would want to be a part of, whether you're a Cleveland Browns fan or not. Because that is a hardcore football fan base. And now you gave them a taste of Shedeur Sanders, who's supposed to be the future of your franchise. You got them to back him a little bit. And now Deshaun Watson comes back and you're going to put him in as your starting quarterback. This is a window dress. Deshaun Watson is going to have 6 weeks to show other teams that he deserves to have one more contract, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, worth a certain amount of money. He's going to have 6 weeks. And if he does not succeed in these next 6 weeks, I can see Shedeur Sanders taking over this football team. And thus, we see the future of the Cleveland Browns. And Deshaun Watson, wherever you end up, good luck. Whether you end up as a starting quarterback elsewhere, or a backup quarterback elsewhere, or you just sit on the free agent list. Good luck. I think this is a bad move on Cleveland's part. I think the Cleveland Browns should be putting Shedeur Sanders in as starting quarterback and letting this kid take over this team. You did it last year when Dylan Gabriel didn't work out for you. You traded Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals when they needed him. You put the weight of the world on Shedeur Sanders' shoulders, and he showed signs of slight improvement for this football team. And now you want to take it away from him because Deshaun Watson's back. I don't get that. Don't get that at all. And I know there's a whole lot of other people out there that don't get this. So, safety of the Seattle Seahawks, Bud Clark suffered an injury, a broken ankle, and it seems like he's going to be out for the rest of the season. It's almost like you look every day and the Seattle Seahawks have some type of injury that's affecting them. And I've been saying it that I don't see Seattle repeating what they did last year winning the Super Bowl. I see them as a 10-7 football team. I see them luckily being the 7th seed in the playoffs and not winning the NFC West. The 49ers are going to win the NFC West, and I'm going to stand on that laurel until we get to the end of the season. I think the NFC West is the San Francisco 49ers. But Seattle it's a rough go for Seattle in training camp, a couple injuries that they're dealing with. And I think Seattle at best 10-7, 7 seed, 6 seed in the playoffs. And that's that. And this is a tough go for Bud Clark though. But we'll have to see what Seattle does. And finally, the Arizona Cardinals, they activated edge rusher Josh Sweat off the PUP list, and they waived running back Trey Benson. So Trey Benson is now a free agent. Teams have 24 hours to claim his contract. If not, he ends up on the free agent list. So, but Trey Benson is a free agent now. And the Patriots and Texans made a trade on Monday. The Patriots are sending wide receiver Kayshon Boutte to the Houston Texans, in return getting defensive back Jaden Reed and a 2028 7th-round draft pick. I've been saying this for months weeks, whatever, since A.J. Brown's rumors came up about him getting traded to the New England Patriots. Okay? You told Kayshon Boutte that he was going to be your guy, and you went out and traded for A.J. Brown. Kayshon Boutte then asked for a trade. I said it, that if New England makes this move for A.J. Brown, Kayshon Boutte is going to want out, and he's going to want to be elsewhere. You told him he was going to be the guy, and then you're going after a top receiver, and I get it. I don't blame you, but then don't open your mouth. Do not tell players, hey, you're going to be the guy moving forward. Don't do that. These are football players. They want to be a lot of these guys want to be leaders. And Kayshon Boutte, in this case, looks like he wanted to be a leader in that wide receiver room. And you kind of took that away from him. So now he's going to go to Houston because Houston needed a wide receiver to fill a spot. And I think Kayshon Boutte is going to have a great season out in Houston. I do. So we'll have to definitely see how things pan out for Kayshon Boutte. But I think he has a great season this year. I do. But that's it for the news, guys. We're going to take about a 30 to 45 second break here. And we'll be right back to run down week 0 of the college football season. All right, guys, make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media today after the show over on TikTok, X, and on Instagram at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the follow button over on YouTube. You're going to hit the subscribe button. And, of course, over on the Twitch channel at the Huddle Hub Podcast. All of the social media links are in the Twitch bio. You're just going to click on the link you want to go to, whatever social media outlet you desire. Help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast through the rest of the 2026 NFL preseason and beyond. All right, so let's get into week 0 of college football. We're going to run down the Saturday schedule today. Why? Because we're going to be here Sunday morning. So we don't have to run down the Thursday, September 3rd, the Friday, September 4th, because we can do that on Sunday. We can do that on the Tuesday edition next week. We're going to run down the Saturday schedule for this week and talk about it. We got one top 25 team playing on Saturday. Okay. But let's start off by talking about North Carolina heading out to take on TCU, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on ESPN and on Disney Plus. And it's going to happen in Dublin, Ireland at Aviva Stadium. I'm going to say this right now. North Carolina Tar Heels, me and John talked about this on the ACC conference preview show last week, that North Carolina is not looking good for them this year. I mean, Bill Belichick being the head coach out there, last season wasn't great for them. And we kind of know that there's the obvious thing of him setting this team up for his son. His son's one of his assistant coaches. Apparently, he's going to be the next head coach stepping up. I think this is it for Bill Belichick. I really do. I see TCU winning this game, even though it's in Dublin, Ireland. It's a home game. It's represented as a home game for TCU. And I don't see North Carolina going into Ireland and winning this game. Now, this is a game that I'm probably going to be listening to on Saturday while I'm at work because of the fact that it's going to be available to listen to. And I've been listening to those overseas games that kick off in week 0 for the past 2 seasons while being at work on a Saturday. So I plan on listening to this game when they kick off at 12 p.m. and seeing how this game goes, and then probably switching over to either one of the other games or one of the NFL preseason games. I'm not sure yet, but I do know I'm going to be listening to this game very, very closely so we can talk about it on the Sunday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. I'm going to go with TCU in this ball game. San Jose State is taking on number 14 USC. I simply think USC is going to win this game. They're the favorites to win this game. They're in the top 25 for a reason. USC is going to pull out the win against San Jose State. North Carolina State heads out to Virginia to take on Virginia. And this is a big matchup for both teams. I'm going to go with Virginia with the win at home, simply because of the home field advantage. North Carolina State, we talked about them last week. One of those up and down teams. And Virginia seems to be a top front runner to be in their conference championship game this year. And going to go with Virginia to kick off the season 1-0 this season in this game. Jacksonville State taking on North Dakota State. We got North Dakota State finally in the FBS and competing to get a chance to play in a bigger bowl game, have an opportunity to win a bigger conference, and be in a bigger conference championship. Jacksonville State, though, last year showed some really good positive signs that they're getting better. And that's what the transfer portal does for a lot of these lower end teams. Me and John have talked about it for the past couple weeks that college football should probably think about having 2 sets of playoffs. One set of playoff for your bigger conferences like the ACC, the Pac-12, Big 12, the SEC, and the Big 10. And then your lower conferences like the Mountain West, the MAC, the American Conference USA, and the Sun Belt, right? Have a separate playoff for those lower conferences. That way they have an opportunity. You can call it like, you can't call it a national championship because you use that for your bigger conferences. So then what do you call it? Because you can't call them national champions. Now, Division II and Division III have their own national championship, and North Dakota State has won national championship in Division II football. So now the question is, what are they going to do in D1? What are they going to do in the FBS? And this is going to be a tone setter game for them to show what their season is going to look like being a part of the FBS. Same with Sacramento State heading out to Eastern Michigan. It's going to be a tone setter for Sacramento State coming into the FBS finally. We're going to have to see what they do. Hawaii is heading out to Stanford to take on Stanford. I'm going to go with Hawaii on the road in this game. I am. I know this is probably a wild pick for some people to sit here and say Hawaii going out and beating Stanford. Yes, I think Hawaii goes out and beats Stanford in Stanford. Things do not look good in Stanford right now. Me and John talked about Stanford being a possible 1-2-3 win team this year. And I don't see them getting any better. I think Hawaii goes out, starts the season off 1-0 on the road, getting this win against Stanford. New Mexico State heads out to Tallahassee to take on Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium, 7 p.m. on the CW. I think Florida State starts their year off 1-0, beats New Mexico State. I know last week we talked about Florida State. I have some high hopes for Florida State and the Seminoles. I know they have a tough schedule this year, but I think they're going to pull out some wins that people don't expect them to pull out. And we might see Florida State in the top 25. I don't see them reaching the top 10 or the top 15, but they'll be there like in the top 20, like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, somewhere around there, wrapping up the season. I think Florida State's going to show a little bit of improvement this season. And then finally, Memphis and UNLV, they kick off at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox out at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. That is huge for these two teams to be playing in that big stadium. Memphis, though, I think they go in and beat UNLV on the road and gets the win. So we will talk about the rest of week one again on the Sunday edition of the Huddle Podcast. We'll talk about some of the week one matchups either on Sunday, or we'll talk about the rest of it on next Tuesday's episode of the Huddle Podcast. That decision will be made. But that is the games that will be kicking off in week 0/week 1, whatever you want to call it, for college football in 2026. And I kind of want to show you guys this. Let's see if I could show you guys this really quick. I should be able to show you this. Yeah. Okay. So as you see, they call this week 1. They do call this week 1. So it's, here's the rest of week 1's schedule, but it runs into all the way up until September 6th. And that's a Sunday. So, it's that's what they do. That's how they do it. So this is part of week 1. We'll talk about the rest of week 1 in the next couple shows here, Sunday, Tuesday, and Sunday, September 6th. I mean, Sunday, September 6th, we'll probably start talking more about week 1 of the NFL as we kick off. I got some plans. I've been thinking about this, and I got some plans for the kickoff of the 2026 NFL schedule. The possibilities of doing a watch along for the first game of the season between the 49ers and Rams, because they kick off on a Wednesday night. So I'm thinking about possibly doing a watch along that night for kickoff of the season. I'm also thinking about some watch alongs throughout the season for the Huddle Hub podcast. They'll probably end up happening. They'll probably happen on Twitch. They'll probably happen on some will happen on Twitch. Some will happen on TikTok. But I'm thinking about doing some watch alongs for some games this season as we go along here for the 2026 NFL season. College football is not going to happen because I work on Saturdays. So obviously it's not going to happen on Saturdays, but I'm thinking about doing some watch alongs for the NFL. So if I can pull a schedule together on what games I want to do watch alongs for, then I will definitely announce it here, and I'll announce it on the social medias in the following days, probably within the next week or two, at least from week 1 to week maybe 7, plan out some watch alongs from week 1 to week 7, and then go from there. So, but that's it, guys. That's all we got. I'm going to get the hell out of here. But before I do, make sure you head over to my social media, TikTok, Instagram, X, and on YouTube, Metal Mike 714. That's where you can find me. And, of course, the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media, over on TikTok, Instagram, and on X at the Huddle Hub Pod. Hit that follow button over on the YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, of course, on Twitch. All the social media links are in the Twitch bio. Just click on the one you desire to go to. Help us build the Huddle Up podcast through the rest of the 2026 NFL preseason and beyond. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Take care of each other. Be patient with each other. I always get this ending wrong. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Take care of each other. Be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Until Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys, you guys have a great rest of your week. Deuces.